Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar on end-to-end process digitalization in construction. We'll give a couple of minutes for other participants to join and begin shortly. Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank everyone that made it to the webinar. Let's get started. My name's Alexander Volt. I've been working in the different segments of the IT industry for the past decade, and today I'm joined by my colleague Eugene, one of the prominent solution architects here at Intellectsoft. During 1 hour or so, we will talk about the future of the construction industry as we see it from the perspective of the IT crowd. Today, we'll discuss in detail the main challenges the construction leaders face today, how to effectively respond to them in a timely manner, and how to undertake digital transformation initiatives to automate processes and achieve desired efficiency. We have a Q&A session at the end, which I would very much welcome you to join. So please put your questions in the chat and we'll answer them towards the end of the session. If we won't be able to answer all questions live, we will send detailed answers via emails after the webinar. Also, we'll be sharing the recording of this session with you in a follow-up email afterwards. Firstly, let me tell you a few words about the company itself. Intellectsoft was founded in 2007 and since then has grown to a full-fledged digital transformation consultancy that provides cutting-edge engineering solutions for global organizations, software development services, and emerging technology solutions. Our mission is to provide enterprise and startups with extended technological capabilities to overcome challenges on the digital transformation roadmap. Our headquarters is located in the United States. However, we also have offices in Eastern Europe where most of the development takes place, representative offices in London, Hong Kong, and Oslo. Over a decade and a half, Intellectsoft has built a strong customer portfolio that includes world brands from both Fortune 500 companies and startups up and coming. They're on their way to becoming unicorns, hopefully. Over the years, we've been awarded and recognized for our technological excellence and capabilities to deliver qualitative solutions for customers from such verticals as retail, financial, healthcare, and construction. Let's move on to the industry overview. We wanted to take a minute or two to share our vision of it as external observers. Let's talk a little bit about the trends in the industry. Now, construction is the largest industry in the global economy, accounting for 13% of the world's GDP. That's a lot. Among other things, it's characterized by a project-based approach, highly fragmented ecosystem, often misaligned contractual structures and incentives, and high reliance on contractors and temporary staff. These culprits in slow rates of innovations and digitalizations, resulting in low profit margins and frequent budget overruns, and are holding the industry back despite stable and persistent growth in the individual project size and overall construction volume. Let's have a closer look. According to McKinsey's study, and quite consistent with our observations on the recent projects, there are several emerging trends that will have a measurable impact on the industry in general and project handling in particular. Now, first is the product-based approach. We need to view construction projects not like something that needs to be executed and moved out of the pipeline, but as products that will be later consumed by the end customers. So IT industry has been doubling down on this approach in the past decade, and with great results at that. There's a good measure of commonality between the two industries, I find personally, and certainly some good opportunities to learn from one another. Another one is investment in technology and facilities. Again, according to McKinsey, that's going to be increasingly important and play a major role in gaining competitive advantage. There's a persistent scarcity and increasing costs of skilled labor. You all know that. And one of the ways to address this is to increase productivity and utilization of the available resources. So for example, that can be achieved through reducing the lead times for onboarding, improving communications, both on site and across the supply chain, and of course, enhancing operational transparency through continuous data collection and analysis. Sustainability is another major factor. There's a lot of ways to look at it, but again, this can be achieved through improved operational as well as energy efficiency, adaptability of existing structures to the immediate challenges, and efficient material sourcing. Yeah, and don't forget the compliance and regulations that are becoming increasingly stringent. To address compliance in particular, you need to be able to measure, make sense of the data across a multitude of various data points. Now, let's talk about the constraints a little bit. Now, obviously, to address the elephant in the room, there's the pandemic. It affects almost every aspect of the process, from significant limitations in the construction activities to increased delays in the supply chain. This imposes huge costs in terms of lost revenue and erosion of the profit margins, which are pretty slim to begin with. Compared to global data's pre-COVID predictions for construction output value, the output total in recent years is close to 1 trillion lower than it otherwise would have been. Now that's a sizable downfall that needs to be remedied. Now, a couple of things to mention here is that there's a high share of manual workforce in the construction, as well as slow technology adoption. And that's happened historically. As we approach the age when modern technology becomes a vital component of the industry, the companies that adopt them early will surely reap the rewards. Those that remain adamant will only have themselves to blame. Construction and, well, logistics, which are intertwined in a lot of ways, seem to be lagging behind others in terms of digital strategy and maturity. And is mounting pressure to increase the pace of digital investment, particularly because of the constraints that it imposes. However, it's undeniably important to ensure that they deliver measurable value and return on investment as well. And when we've looked at the studies, it appeared that less than a quarter of respondents confirmed that the current companies that had any sort of digital strategy to begin with, less than a quarter. And more than half indicated that the company had no clearly defined digital strategy and vision at all. Perhaps because, according to the feedback from the contractors that had been surveyed, 90% did not specifically budget for innovation. It's been something that had been brushed off because of that traditionalist mindset, And we believe this is something that has to change and has to change fast. All right. Now, we believe that technology adoption and implementation in any industry should not be painful, should not be time-consuming, and should not be disruptive in a bad way. Most of today's apps can be easily merged with legacy systems so that the company can benefit from instant access to accurate and up-to-date project information. Disruption is already occurring at scale because the market demands it. Contractors who deploy technology can gain a major competitive advantage, which will help them face the challenges brought by the year 21 and spur the growth. 3/4 of the companies plan to increase their spending on digital transformation. The vast majority of the people in the industry believe that a major shift is likely to occur within the next 5 years. The question is, how do you do it? And who's going to become a leader in adoption? We can help with answering the first part of that question, but the latter is up to you all to decide for yourselves. Big question is, why would you bother with all this hassle? Certainly not just because some researchers tell you to. Let's look at some very real benefits that digitalization brings to the table. And among those are increased operations efficiency. That equals less process waste, together with all the associated costs. Reducing costs allows you to improve your margins. One of our customers increased their margins by twofold after going fully paperless and implementing a variety of automation tools across their enterprise. We will look into that case shortly. Streamline processes and, more importantly, interlink data. That's important. This allows management to respond faster, predict further, and adjust better. This is a long-term thinking. This helps you to be strategic. Process transparency means that the company is leaner and can make necessary adjustments on the go, improving their competitiveness. And lastly, minimizing errors through either total quality management or other tools. That further improves your running costs and reduces lead times, which is absolutely crucial for sustainable growth. Using digital tools can significantly improve on-site collaboration. And these solutions include mobile project management apps and cloud-based project control towers that integrate communication among teams on-site and desktop machines to constantly track progress and utilization. Advanced analytics can help further improve efficiency and decision-making. It's worth noting that workplace productivity is improved by 20 to 30% through online collaboration tools, according to McKinsey at least. And that holds true to some extent, even if the workplace is effectively a construction site. Now, we're going to look at a handful of more recent cases Intellectsoft had been working on. They should give more context to the application of the technologies mentioned earlier and the impact they produced. Now, first one is an interesting one. We developed a comprehensive custom ERP solution for one of the largest civil engineering and construction companies in the Nordics region. There were a lot of challenges. Company wanted to improve and join their fragmented legacy systems, which had been a major bottleneck in their growth. And they've eventually decided to completely change legacy systems in favor of a new unified single platform. And the reasons for that were they needed to increase transparency across multiple departments. They needed to improve partner management processes and simplify asset management. Now, the solution for that was that Intellectsoft built a custom platform that included a labor management portal, bespoke project management system, and a mobile solution for driving asset delivery and management. The end result significantly improved operational efficiency, interlinked and simplified business processes, and nearly doubled their operating margins. And I think that is the single most important takeaway from this case. It completely eliminated paperwork, simplified progress monitoring across multiple projects, and improved supply chain management. All of those things contributed to that company becoming effectively a leader in the market in the Nordics. Another one is client that historically had very manual processes. They had a large variety of data sets and a number of responsible agents that needed to communicate with one another. A lot of the technical issues were difficult to identify and resolve due to lack of central repository of data and information visible to all groups within the company. Solution was to create an enterprise portal with a single knowledge base that allowed collection, retention, and transfer of the various findings across multiple groups within the company. It is dedicated to providing customers operational and technical information, including, for example, outage planning and planned inspections. And the solution was designed to support web, tablet, and mobile applications. An interesting client was a company from the US who's believed to be an innovation leader in IoT and industrial maintenance systems. The challenge there was that the client wanted to improve their software part of their bundle offering that originally consisted of numerous technically raw modules, and they needed to convert it into a full-scale enterprise-grade platform with intuitive interface, complex yet streamlined workflows that are actually usable as opposed to what had been happening before that. Intellectsoft did a complete system redesign, delivered a robust platform with the following capabilities: a completely automated IoT devices and software vendor integration, the project management engine that covers complete maintenance and delivery processes, workforce, assets, equipment management and reporting, and maintenance data processing powered by big data. And that was an important one. Now, another company is very well known in the engineering world. Unfortunately, we are bound by a strict NDA, cannot disclose the name, but it's one of the big guys. The challenge there was that the client chose Intellectsoft to develop an internal application that allowed conducting internal health and environmental surveys. And our team developed a native mobile application for both iOS and Android with responsive UI that consisted of two parts. First, employees were able to use an electronic manual during the work process, which eliminated a lot of the human error in the process. Second, engineers used the solution for conducting the surveys required for the job. The app is unique with its highly customizable and maintainable architecture and high security level by design. Now let's look at another one. This client needed to streamline their inspection processes, including scheduling and reporting. It was hard for the inspectors to fill out forms in the terminals under challenging weather conditions. More so, the terminal's equipment register consisted of over 20,000 pieces with complex hierarchy. Now, keeping track of workflows and completed inspections was also difficult to implement. The solution was to create an app that improved the inspection flow, provided easy access to all the required data and inspection logs, allowed scheduling inspections, and send automatic reminders to equipment suppliers about what needed to be fixed. There's a bunch of features involved, like in-app equipment register, inspection scheduling and workflow management, inspection sheets, admin panel, equipment maintenance, and many more. Now, what I would like to add to this is that these projects had one thing in common, that extremely fragmented backend that needed to be analyzed and made sense of. And this is what Intellectsoft excels at, rebuilding legacy applications, something that had been, obsolete, turning it into a solution that is, I wouldn't say time-proof, but certainly, near future-proof. In order to understand how we work, we've kept part of this session to focus on the methods of solution delivery. Now, there's several segments involved, and for people that come from other industries unrelated to software, to IT, this may be not very straightforward. So we wanted to take time and demystify that part of the process. And I'd like to invite my colleague Eugene to do that, because he's the technical one. Now, Eugene, are you available to join the conversation right now?
Yes, thanks, Alexander. Hello, everyone. And first of all, let me share with you some inside information on how we develop and deliver software solutions for construction industry, and actually not only construction industry, for all of the industries in the world. Intellectsoft company has a lot of experience in building digital solutions using various technologies, using various industries. And you need to know that before we even start the development process, we conduct a thorough analysis. We call this process internally as discovery workshop, to understand your needs. Usually this is the part of the bigger project, but often we do it as a consultancy activity without actual development phase. So the main goal of this workshop is to study the current situation, your main challenges, and we need to really understand how everything works right now and who are the main stakeholders and what we need to build. We are building the vision of the solution that will completely solve your problems from business perspective and of course from technical perspectives. We need to create the complete set of business requirements that will serve as a roadmap for future development. And of course, at this stage, we prepare the design for system architecture and its infrastructure, which will fit all of your needs to solve your problems. Yes, for doing this, you need a well-tuned team of experts that can achieve these goals. And this team usually consists of the following people. The main person, as for me, is a business analyst, because this is the person who will run all interviews and later will translate all the business requirements to fully technical language, to fully technical structural language. The second person in this team is solution architect, the main person that will validate all the requirements gathered by the business analyst, and will validate and create all the ideas from the technical standpoint, and later we'll create all design documents, plan a team, and run all estimations of when, who will develop the solution. The third one is project manager. Is a pretty common but also very important role, because we have the team which should be managed by some person, and also we have here UI UX designer who will be creating the initial visual of the system and even can create some clickable prototypes if it is required at this stage for you. And the whole process of discovery workshop can take about 3 weeks. Sometimes it can be less, sometimes it can be also more. First week is dedicated to the current situation discovery. We may run a code review or process analysis or stakeholder interviews based on the current project. The second week is for the concept crystallization, and we strongly recommend doing this offline, face-to-face, at least some part of it, 3 or 4 days, because this is one of the main stages of discovery workshop. And the third week is the week when it's time to process all the information received from you and your stakeholders and create all the required deliverables, as I mentioned earlier, infrastructure, architecture documents, and all the business requirements. And after this, we are actually starting the development phase, which is built on agile methodology. Agility is the key to success. That's why at the background of our approach lies agile project management. There are a few reasons why we consider it to be the most effective one. The main benefit which it provides is it ensures high product quality. Testing and multiple iterations are integrated during the cycle, which means that there are regular checkups to see that the product is working during the development. It also guarantees higher customer satisfaction because the product owner is always involved. The progress of development has high visibility and flexibility to change development has high visibility and flexibility. So the product owner is some person from the client side, and it is very transparent for the client what is happening right now on the development stage of the solution. And this also increases the project control. Regular sprint meetings ensures transparency to not only product owner, but also for any manager from the client side. From this perspective, it also ensures risk reduction because we are doing everything on the iterative basis, and this eliminates the chances of the absolute project failure, because if something goes wrong, you see it as fast as possible because all the process is transparent for you. And it adds the benefit of faster return on investments, because the fact that agile development is iterative means that the features are delivered incrementally. Therefore, benefits are realized early while the product is in development process. And of course, after the product is developed by Intellectsoft company, we deliver the support that the client requires. If there are some further implementations or any problem, we also provide the service for this.
All right, Eugene. Well, thank you very much for helping me out with this part. And thank you everybody for listening in. So we wanted to keep this short and sweet, and there's some time for the Q&A session, but I would like to add to Eugene regarding the discovery and the whole delivery part is that from my experience, it's best when a company focuses on their strengths and plays to them. You're not IT companies, and you shouldn't be, whereas we are, and that's what we do. So this process allows you to effectively acquire that external expertise, contracted and implemented, instead of trying to grow it in-house and make a lot of mistakes along the way. The discovery itself is just a collection of best practices that have been discovered really in the last decades by people in the field, people in the software field, and it's been pretty much the most effective way of envisioning, building, and implementing any type of product. And every company is unique and different. Each one of you will be. Each one of you will have specific needs that are unique to their operations, to their structure, and a whole context that their business operates in. including the local market or markets. You should not be, an expert in designing and building a product. You should be experts in designing and building the construction sites, in delivering what you're good at and what you specialize in. Now, this allows you to give us the inputs of what you require, give us the context, and our analysts and architects will translate it into the software, into what will help your business achieve new heights, new efficiencies. So that's just my 2 cents on top of the technical part, and I'd love to welcome some questions in case there have been any. Okay. Well, I've got a question. What will play a crucial role in digitalization of the construction industry? If you ask me, I think the number one factor will not be technology itself. It won't be any particular tools, but instead it will be leadership. Any change is difficult. Any change takes toll. The only way to have this change implemented and reap the benefits from that implementation is that you have people in-house that are driving it. If you just launch another system, there will be internal resistance. People will not necessarily immediately understand its value, what impact it brings, especially if there's a learning curve. And that is where leadership comes into play, and that's effectively a single most important factor that I would highlight that will make that change possible. Okay, right, we have another one. I have my own system which is old and cannot serve the current number of staff in my company. What can you offer me? All right, so I'm assuming that there's a legacy system in place, and it's pretty difficult to expand as is, which is normal, because if the system had been built 20 years ago, sometimes more than that, the technological landscape has changed dramatically. The frameworks, even the programming languages have changed. The way the internet, the cloud operate has changed. So that's a difficult one. Eugene, can you help me out with this one?
Yep, of course, because this is, from my perspective, a technical question. Yes. So first of all, we need to analyze the situation with the current application. Maybe there is a room for modernization of this application, and this is the first option, because this is the faster for you, and we can say the cheaper, because if your business changes not so much, and we can add something to the existing system, and it can also fit your needs. If this is not applicable for your situation, we can also provide the second option. If your application cannot serve some new business processes in your business, but the current system is good for another business process, we can just create the new small system and integrate it to the current one. This is also an option, but this is happening really not so often, because usually you have much more changes in your business processes than this option can serve. And the third option, of course, is to create a brand new application which will fit all the new needs. Of course, we need to understand the challenges, we need to understand your business, and this will be the options will be provided after the discovery phase. Of course, if we create a new application, if you have some data which should be migrated from the old one, from the old system to a new one, of course, we also will be planning this activity to not interrupt your business, and you will have all the data needed for it after switching from old system to the new system. So there is few options which needs more analysis in each particular case.
All right, well, thank you again, and don't go anywhere because I've got another one for you. Somebody's asking, I often have situations when there's no internet connection on site. So how can I make use of digitalization under those circumstances? That's a good one, because yeah, construction industry, well, due to its nature, is often, you know, on a, I don't want to say frontier, but in, you know, remote locations, and connectivity is not always an option. What can we do with that? So Eugene, do you have anything to say on that one?
Yeah, of course. Actually, nowadays, the state of software development world has a wide variety of the options here. For example, we can have, of course, mobile applications, which can work in offline mode. How it works? If you need some data from the server in the area where your employees do not have an access to the actual server, this data can be downloaded to the application. This amount of data which is needed for the field work can be downloaded, and the user can perform all the actions which are needed in his work. And after this device, mobile device, will be connected to the internet, all these actions will be saved on the server. So this usually is called as offline mode for mobile applications. If your employees do not use mobile applications, maybe by some reason, and they have only access to the web browser, currently we can deliver also let's say offline web application. They are called in the industry progressive web applications, and this technology enables the same experience as for offline mode in mobile application, but in web browser. So your user can actually not even observe that there is no connectivity between the device and real server, because all the data is located on the local machine in local storages in the web browser. All the actions performed by this user will be collected and again will be sent to the actual server after this device will be connected to the internet. Of course, these two options are a little bit complex because there is a room for some concurrency issues when one user changes some object in the system and another user changes the same object in the system, but this is achievable. There are also different scenarios like maybe intranet solution when we have some local area in the field and different users, different employees use mobile application or laptop computers in web browsers. Anything can be connected to the server, which is accessible inside the local intranet, and it serves all the requests between mobile application, web application, and server. And this server can act as a concurrency point. So as I said before, sometimes in offline mode, we have the problems when different users change the same object, and because of offline work, the server does not know about these changes, and we need to introduce something how we will be resolving such concurrency conflicts in future. if we have some server, it can be responsible for this, even if all the local network is not connected to the internet. This solution is also possible. Or it can be implemented like something server has the connection to the internet and the real web accessible server, but the mobile devices, web browser, do not have such access. So this is also possible. And of course, we need to investigate the market currently, because there is a lot of offerings, like maybe Starlink from Elon Musk. We also can leverage such kind of technologies in the applications.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Eugene. I'd like to add my 2 cents on this one, because before I ventured into software, I worked for infrastructure companies like Dell and AMC, which are data companies. And we did implementations, kind of offline implementations on remote sites, in various points like Siberia, Kazakhstan. There's not only no internet, there's no connection whatsoever. So the app itself, I'll just try to simplify all the things that Eugene said. From the app's perspective, it doesn't matter whether there's actual global connectivity. It only matters whether there's a server which it can connect to, and that can be local. So you just install a couple of pieces of hardware on site, put up the Wi-Fi, and everything works. The only thing that doesn't work is the data synchronization with HQ, whatever, which can be done in increments whenever connection's available. But otherwise, everything will function and work as intended. We've got a couple of interesting questions. I'd like to start. The one from Matthias. I understand you are producing individual software applications. Yes, we do. How much is the system then depending on your availability as a maintenance and service provider? Now, so Matthias, how much does it cost to build a house? Now, this is effectively the same question, right? I find a lot of similarities between construction and IT industries in terms of how products are built. So you're building, sites, you're building buildings, whereas we're building software. But each one is pretty unique, and the amount of effort, the amount of resources required to build it depend on each particular scenario. So, we've still got the, let me get back to this one actually. So the discovery workflow that Eugene spoke about, that is what addresses this question. So when a customer comes to us, and in, I would say, at least 70 to 80% of the cases, they do not have clear, defined requirements, specifications, and even designs for what they want to build. They just have, the business needs, they've got the concept, the idea. And discovery is exactly what allows us to put the price on it, because we do all this research, well, a bunch of people do that, and they end up producing a document which has desired specifications, which has a timeline breakdown. The engineers sit down and do the brainstorming, estimating all the features involved, how much time is it going to take to implement each one of them. And based on that, we can give you a fairly accurate estimate of the project's budget. Now, that is only accurate if nothing changes. And believe me, it always does. So there'll still be discrepancies between original estimate and the final one, final delivered product, because as you're building something, time goes by, you as a business, you as people learn new things, you get feedback from the market, from the customers. Maybe you had another idea that you believe is necessary to implement, so that affects the workflow, that affects the schedule. So the answer to this question is, we do this couple of weeks of analysis, and then we give you exact number, which is, well, exact, approximately plus minus 20% on average. Right. I like this one. So question from Claudius. Who or which role champions this change to digitization within the construction companies? I would say that depends on the company size, and ideally that would be an executive officer, something like chief innovation officer or director of innovation, something like that, director of digitalization. That would be the person in charge of strategy and a roadmap. Now, underneath that person, there would be either, again, depending on the company size, there would be either program director or program manager. Those people would have the teams allocated to them that are responsible for implementation. This is a high level, but of course, there's got to be people on the ground that are, pushing the others. Who would that be? I can't give you an exact answer to this. That will depend on your organizational structure, but certainly it's great to start somewhere on the level of program management. I think that's the kind of golden middle for that. Do you have anything else? Right. How do you keep my data secure and available, especially in a case of emergencies? Right. I probably could answer that, but Eugene, that's your domain.
That's my turn. Yes. So actually, there is a lot of different scenarios how we can do this. It depends on the business criticality of the parts of your applications or the overall applications of the data and stuff like this. Because if we are speaking about data redundancy, for example, if we store the data in few different locations to avoid the situations when one of them is not working and we lose the data. So this will cost, this will need more money to implement this solution, and of course we need to invest in supporting this. Actually, on the market we have a lot of different cloud providers who really simplifies this process, because for example we can use some virtual machines, virtual hardware, virtual disks, and they have a lot of different options built into these solutions. For example, if we just store the files, these files will be stored in 3 different locations inside this cloud provider data centers. But of course, if you really need this data to be available 24/7, we need to plan and implement a lot of different techniques. They are usually called in software industry as disaster recovery scenario. Why this is not the actual action? This is the scenario because, as I said, if we need more redundancy in terms of data or in terms of applications, we need to invest more in development of this solution and of course in operating of this solution, because we need more servers. If we have an application deployed to single server, we need to pay for this one server. If we need this data to be available even if the server is down, we need 2 or more servers. More servers, more money we need to spend to buy or buy the physical machines or buy virtual machines in the cloud providers. And of course, again, during the discovery scenario, we will collect all the requirements based on this, we'll provide the different options for this disaster recovery scenario. Usually there is no situation where when you need all your application, all your data to be available 24 hours per 7 days. Usually there are some parts of this data or application which needs to be up and running, let's say always. And some parts of the application can have not so high availability because they are not so business critical for you. So anything we need to understand during the discovery, and not only discovery, actually we can do this also during the development phase. Based on your requirements, we will provide the best option for you to make your data and your applications highly available, and you will need to spend less money as possible.
Right, so Eugene, thank you again. I'd like to summarize this because I have data background, so this is something I've done a lot. The short answer would be you define the standards for both security and availability. We design and suggest a solution, you approve that solution, and we implement it. And that solution is going to work according to those standards that you had set. Standards, well, everybody initially said, well, yeah, I need the highest standards. Well, that costs money. So you balance the standards with your budget and your actual needs. So there's a lot of flexibility in there. Well, we have a follow-up from Matthias, and I'd like to answer that one. So the original question was, how much is the system depending on your availability as a maintenance and service provider? And I probably did not answer that enough. So the follow-up was, how much do we need you later on during application, and what happens if you are not available? That's a good one. So the short answer is you don't need us afterwards if it's designed in that way. The longer answer is we can do as a company, well, first of all, we're always available for you. And we've been available for the last 14 years. There's really nothing on the horizon that would warrant any concern in the near future. But let's assume that you want to eventually take full ownership of the product. You want to maintain and manage it in-house. So in that case, we have a process for knowledge transfer. The product itself will be documented. All the code will be documented. You'll have architecture blueprints, and absolute majority of the larger companies, including construction companies, already have some IT staff in-house. They already have some developers. It's just that their experience is probably limited to what they're doing, which is largely maintenance of legacy systems. And we just do the knowledge transfer, right? We teach your guys, we did a workshop, we explain system, we explain the architecture, we explain the continuous delivery and all the jazz, and then they do it. And if you're happy with the system as it is, you don't have any urgency to, expand it, add new features, then that is perfectly doable by your just maintenance. I mean, it's perfectly doable by your in-house resources. And we're happy to pass that knowledge on. So I hope that answers your question. You don't really need us once the project is complete, but we're happy to be with you. All right. I don't see any new questions, so unless somebody wants to add something else, I think we can conclude here. It was a good session. And I'm surprised and grateful for you being so active with the questions. I'd like to thank my colleague Eugene and all the people from marketing that helped put this together. And well, thanks again for joining. We appreciate your time. Stay tuned for new webinars from Intellectsoft, and have a great day.